All right, so on to this one. We have a weight loss clinic, 500 customers. They have analyzed their clients and found the average customer has lost 22 pounds with a standard deviation of 2.5 pounds. Probably one of the smeglitudes like Wegovy or something. Let's see here. We got 24 and a half. Those things like Lay's, who makes potatoes, they actually said in their earnings report that these weight loss drugs like Wegovy have caused people to buy less potato chips because you're just not hungry. Those drugs work by slowing your gut down so you stay fuller longer, and they also turn off signals to your brain too. Kind of interesting chemistry there. Anyways, what I've done is I've added 2.5 pounds 3 times, right? So my math looks right. I'm okay with it. And then I'm going to take it away 3 times. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and draw in my little pieces here, my 34s and my 34s, and my 13.5s and my 13.5s and my 2.35s and my 2.35s. The bell curve is usually good for about 1 to 2 questions on your EOC. It really is. It's a good thing to know. And plus, if you're taking stats next year, you'll be happy you know it. All right, what percentage of the customers have lost over 27 pounds? That would just be done by adding those two pieces right there together. That's 2.35 plus 0.15, which is 2.5%. All right, what percentage of customers have lost over 15.5 pounds? I don't see 15.5 on here. Do you? Actually, this is actually just a typo. I intended for this one to be something you could do. Apparently, I just did the math wrong in my head. But it is everybody but this guy. It's everybody but this guy. So you can add all these numbers if you want, or you can just do 100 minus 0.15, which is quicker. And you'd get 99.85% of all customers have lost more than 14.5 pounds. Because it's everybody again, but this little tail right here. What percentage of customers have lost between 15 and 22? I don't see 15 on here, and this one's not a typo. And it even says, bruh, use normal CDF. So we're going to use normal CDF. We go to second, VARs, normal CDF. Seems like the numbers were 15 and 22. And they were. Lower bound is 15, upper bound is 22. The mean here, I believe, was 22, and the standard deviation was 2.5. And then I pasted. So 0.4974. Which is 49.74%. Oops, wrong spot. No, right spot. For some reason, I double copied that one. What weight loss represents the first percentile? So the first percentile is the area under the curve where the area is 0.01. This is good old inverse norm. Remember her? And we're going to do a left tail here. Wrong calculator. She's under second VARs, inverse norm. The area is 0.01. The mean was 22. Standard deviation was 2.5. And she is a left tail because we're talking about the first percentile. And it's 16.1841. And that's pounds. The 80th percentile, we'd be talking about this guy right here. And this area would be 0.8. So it's still inverse norm. Second VARs, inverse norm. Area being 80%. Nothing else has changed. Percentile rank, you always use a left tail. 24.1041. And that's in pounds. And there's 16. 17, 3 marbles are to be drawn at random without replacement from a bag containing 15 red, 10 blue, 5 white. Notice it says without replacement. What is the probability of drawing 2 red marbles and 1 white marble from the bag? Now, it doesn't talk about order. Now, does it? It doesn't say a red marble, and then. It does not specify order. So there's 3 different ways this could happen. And this is what makes problems like this so tough to realize. But I could be red, white, red. I could be white, red, red. Or I could be red, red, white. This is what's going to get kids, is we don't want to think about order. We just want everything to be easy peasy lemon squeezy. And it is if you frickin' think, kids. Just think. All right, so how many marbles are in this bag? We got 15, 25, 30. So the first time I get a marble, it's going to be out of 30. The next time it's going to be out of 29. And the next time it's going to be out of 28. There are 15 reds, so it starts off 15 and 30. 5 white, and then I've pulled a red, 14. Okay, 4 means plus. 5 out of 30 for white, and then red would be 15 and now 29, and 14 and 28. Plus, because I have the word or, red, red, white, 15 and 30 times 14 and 29 times 5 and 28. And notice that these are all the same thing. They really are. It's the same numbers up top, the same numbers in the bottom. They're going to be the same. But anyways, I'll just waste our sweet time here and I'll just type it all out. Because why not? So we got a 15 over a 30. I really don't want to do that though, but you know, whatever. Y'all may not realize that you only have to type it once and then multiply it by 3. Perhaps you do. Betting you don't. So there's the first grouping. All right, gonna add in the second grouping. I would be so shocked if your TI-84 was capable of converting this to a fraction. Like, wow, I'd be shocked. Well, there was a minute of my life I'll never get back. But let's see, will it make it a fraction? I did. Wasn't even that bad. 15 in 116 chances of this series of events happening. Almost done with this fat twin. Because I think everything after that's a bonus. All right. In a survey of 80 DHS juniors, it was found that 70% of all students dislike teacher A. That's probably me. 50% dislike teacher B. Who's that? 20% dislike C. That's a weak. You can do better. 30% dislike both A and B, and 10% dislike both A and C. 20 dislike B and C, and 10% dislike all 3. So we're going to start with the overlap. Oh, by the way, we need to convert these to actual numbers. It's not 10%. This is 80 kids. 10% of 80, that's 0.1 times 80, is 8 kids. There's 8 kids who dislike all 3. 20% dislike B and C, so 0.2 times 80 is 16. And they dislike, who is that again? B and C. Now, I need another 8 here. It doesn't say the word only, okay? If it said only, it'd be different, all right? We've already got 8 in this piece right here, because this overlap represents kids who dislike B and C. Anyways, where was I now? 10% dislike A and C. So I actually need nothing there because 10% of, I should really reword this question. I think I'm going to. So let's make a couple of these onlys. Let's leave that alone. Because looking at this, I can see why kids didn't like the way it was worded. Let's say only. Let's hope the numbers work out. Let me pause this and make sure our numbers are still good. If I change the wording. Yeah, I can't change the wording because the numbers won't work. So anyways, I'm going to leave it as it is. 20% dislike B and C. So 20% is 16. 8's been talked about. That leaves 8 more. 10% dislike both A and C. 10% is 8. I've already got 8 accounted for, so I'm going to put a 0 there. 30% dislike both A and B. Now, 30% of 80 is 24, and that was about A and B. So that's the sliver right here. 8's accounted for. I need 16 more people in it. And all right, I'm down to here. 20% dislike C. 20% of 80 is 16. So those 16 kids are already accounted for right here. I don't need to put any more in that circle. 50% dislike B. Well, 0.5 of 80 is 40. So let's see what we have in here. We have 24, 32. There's 8 more kids that go there because that circle has to add to 40. And then 70% of 80 would be 56. So this circle A has to be 56 kids, and it's got 24 in it right now. So I got to do a little subtraction there and figure out what's missing, which is 32. I don't know why I hesitated. And let's see who else we have to talk about here, because there's going to be some kids who have no opinion. It says 8. Let's check and make sure the math is mathing here. 8 plus 32 is 40. Then we got 16 plus 8 is 24, plus another 8, 16. All right, so it's 80. This all adds to 80. Everything's good. Number 1, find the probability that a student dislikes teacher A given they dislike B. So it's given they dislike B. Now, circle B has 40 kids in it, right? Of the 40 kids in circle B, 24 of them dislike circle A, or teacher A. And of course, that reduces on down. You can divide both those by 4. Actually, divide them by 8. It's 3/5 or 60%. Whatever you want to write. I don't care. All right, number 2, find A and C and B. This is where a teacher dislikes A, C, and B. This is the dislikes all. A, B, and C. All right, that's your overlap for all 3 circles. It's this piece right here. It's the 8 in 80, which is actually given in the text, which is 10%. A or B would be everything in A or B. So we just add these things together. Now I know there's 40 here, add 32, that's 72 in 80, which reduces way on down. Both those are divisible by 8, right? 9/10, 90%, whatever you want. 4, probability of not A or C. That's not A or C. I wish there was a way I could, that's 32, 16. So not A or C is going to be, it's too much, that math. They are the only things that are not in A or C. It's 16 of 80 things, which is 20%. And that's 18. And the rest of these are bonuses, which I'm going to do in a separate video.